Welcome everybody. Sorry, a couple of technical issues, but we got that all worked out. I am your host and organizer, Amy Rawls, here at Transformation Enzyme. For those of you who don't know me, I am the clinical manager and director here at our Houston office. Um, so, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get into our introductions for our wonderful speaker today. So, we're all too busy. Modern life has become so overwhelming and overstimulating that we're experiencing an epidemic of stress and depletion. By incorporating mindfulness into your practice, you help your clients and you find a way to sidestep this epidemic. From a small investment of just minutes a day, you can restore balance in your mind, your relationships, your work, and your health. Those of you joining us today are in for a great discussion on the importance of nutrition, digestion, and mindfulness for stress relief with Miss Mira Dessy. Today's webinar will hopefully leave you with a better understanding of stress and how it impacts your clients, plus get strategies to incorporate mindfulness into your practice. So before I let Mira begin, I just want to tell you a little bit about her. Mira Dessy is the ingredient guru. She is a board-certified holistic health practitioner who has been working with clients for nearly 12 years. Mira supports functional medicine practitioners to incorporate functional nutrition into their practice to improve client support and client outcomes. She is the author of the book Beyond Meditation, Making Mindfulness Accessible for Everyone. A former meditation dropout, she has learned that just like with diets, there is no one-size-fits-all plan for everyone's meditation practice. She is on a mission to encourage others that if she can meditate, so can you. Mira is a member of the National Association of Nutrition Professionals, the Society for Nutrition Education and Behavior, the American Association of Drugless Practitioners, and the American Holistic Health Association, and is a founding member of the Holistic Business and Wellness Alliance. She can be found online at theingredientguru.com. So Mira, thank you again for taking time to be with us today. I really can't wait to hear what you have to share with us. So with that being said, I'm going to let you go ahead and get started.
Well, thanks, Amy. I'm so excited to be here. You know, one of the things that I think is really challenging for a lot of people is we have some misconceptions about how to add mindfulness or whether we can into our lives. And I love that you guys have given me the opportunity to share some ways to do that and ways that will help people, as you mentioned, not only improve their own lives, but help their clients as well, so that we can all get healthier and get on the other side of this growing epidemic of stress-induced disease. So as Amy mentioned, I am the author of Beyond Meditation, Making Mindfulness Accessible for Everyone. And part of the reason this book came about was the very reason that we're going to be talking about in this lecture, where people feel that they don't have time or they don't know how. And so I wanted to help people with that. I'm also the author of Gratitude, A Mindful Pause, which is a gratitude journal. Love journaling, and so I think that's a great strategy as well. And for some reason, my clicker's not working. Oh, there we go. So we are all too busy. It seems to be a huge challenge in everyday life and gets many of us feeling overwhelmed, and that adds to our stress. Before we dive into talking about that, I pulled together a whole bunch of people, and I wanted to ask you guys to think for just a second about what you have in common with all of these people, aside from the fact that we're all human and we all exist on planet Earth. So, you know, these are people who have varying different careers and professions and different lives, whether they're, you know, boldly in the social media or not. We all have something in common. And that one thing that we really have in common is time, because we each have one day that is made up of 24 hours, 1,440 minutes, 86,400 seconds. We all have the exact same amount of time in our day, and yet somehow we have let ourselves be so distracted and so stretched in so many different ways that we feel like we don't have enough time. And a frequent complaint that I hear in my practice is, well, if I only had enough time, then I could dot, 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 insert whatever here. And I'm here to tell you that there are actually ways that you can take that back and ways that you can help make it seem calmer and less stressful. So instead of being so busy looking at our watch, we have to remember to take time for ourselves. One of the biggest frustrations that I personally find, and this is something that I've noticed increasingly, especially over the last year, is somehow the answer to the question, how are you, has become busy. Oh, I'm busy. I'm really busy. Oh, yeah, things are so busy. When did busy become a state of being? When did that become the answer to our ability to do the things we wanted to do in our life? It doesn't say anything about how you're feeling, how things are going, what's going on in your life. It's this badge that people proclaim to wear. Oh, I'm so busy, as if being busy makes you important. But as we all know, and I'm here to reiterate for you, being busy does absolutely nothing whatsoever to help you with the stress and that feeling of overwhelm in your life. As a matter of fact, that state of busyness increases it. So this is a little piece that I found that I absolutely love. I love this quote: "I am too busy this very moment to be here telling you that I am too busy." And I'm here to help you put a stop to that. Because truthfully, what we all want is to find some peaceful, quiet moments in our life. We want the ability to have, just looking at this picture, probably a couple of you are going, oh, yeah, like that's awesome. Journaling in a quiet setting with a cup of tea, there's a little heart. It's very soothing. We need more of those soothing, mindful moments in our life. We need balance in our life. Part of the challenge of being busy or subscribing to that theory of the more busy you are, the more productive you are, is that our lives get out of balance. And we wind up being so focused on things that we are bouncing from one to another without being able to step back and look at what's going on and where we need to focus our attention. As practitioners, this becomes increasingly important because if we don't know how to do that, we can't help our clients do that. Because as busy and overwhelmed as we think we are, they are potentially even more overwhelmed because they're facing health challenges and other issues that keep them off kilter even more. They're coming to us for support, for that guidance, and we need to help ourselves be balanced so that we can in turn pass that on to them. We also need to remember to stop and take a moment, a quiet moment for ourselves as we move throughout the day. And one of my absolute favorite things is to encourage people to just breathe. We all think we know how to breathe because it's autonomic. It's something that our body does automatically without our thinking about it. And the truth of the matter is, we do breathe automatically, but sometimes when we're trying to think about breathing, we perhaps are breathing in our upper respiratory area. So our shoulders are impinged and we're inflating the upper part of our body. And what we really want to do is breathe from our belly. We want to get that full, deep belly breath that allows us to fully expand the lungs. And when we do that, we oxygenate our system, and that in turn helps to reduce or release some of the stress. And so I want to help you understand how that feels. And I'm going to ask each of you where you are. If you're standing, please sit, because it is easier when you're sitting, and just for the purposes of this exercise. And we're going to plant our feet firmly on the floor, and we're going to straighten up our spine. We're going to take our hand and place it under our belly button. And then we are going to breathe in slowly through our nose making sure that we are breathing into our belly and pushing our hand outwards. We're going to breathe in for a count of 4, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 4. We're going to do this 2 times. So ready? Here we go. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. And now we're going to do it again. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. And if you're like most people, those 2 simple measured breaths have just made a physical difference. Your blood pressure may have come down a lot. You may discover that your shoulders aren't so tense and so tight, but you notice a physical shift in your body. And this is just one aspect of mindfulness or meditation. One of the things that we learn, there's an awful lot of science being done right now. One of the things that we've learned is that mindfulness really has a powerful impact, and it is beneficial for millions of people. It actually makes structural changes to your brain, which I find absolutely fascinating. And the more we study it, the more we discover this vast array of different ways that it can be incorporated into life, work, and everyday practice. So one of the ways that it really helps us, believe it or not, is with sleep. So there was a study that was done back in 2015 that looked at incorporating mindfulness meditation and how it helped with sleep quality among older adults. It turned out that it also had a benefit for daytime impairment. And it was fascinating to look and see that the mindfulness-based interventions also not only helped to remediate sleep problems, but also carried over into daytime issues. And so it was something that was very beneficial for a population that typically has a hard time sleeping anyway. And it has implications in further studies for younger people who may have trouble sleeping, but also for people who are under stress or who experience challenges or duress. The daytime aspect of it is something that I find very fascinating, that learning to meditate so that you can improve your quality of sleep then also helps improve your quality of daytime function. And one of the other things that we look at when we look at sleep impairment is how sleep has such a huge impact on the rest of our being. We know that those with impaired sleep often do not have good digestion, often may have more anxiety, and may also have issues with frustration or an inability to cognitively process quite as well. As a matter of fact, significant sleep impairment has been shown to be very similar to being drunk or otherwise chemically impaired. So by making this one simple change, we can, by extension, add into incorporating a strategy that will help us potentially calm and reduce anxiety, improve thinking, make it clearer, and potentially even have an impact on digestive function. One of the aspects of it that I found very interesting was a particular study that was done where they started adding meditation to schools instead of detention. And at the end of the talk, I'm going to show you a resource slide, but I also will be sharing the link with you to this article and to the YouTube video. It's really, really interesting how they took these children and instead of punishing them, punishing being in quotes, for acting out or for not behaving appropriately, they sent them to meditation to teach them how to calm down, teach them how to recenter themselves, And in the article, one of the things that they talked about is that in 1 year of implementing this, they reduced the number of suspensions and expulsions from the school because the children learned how to better self-monitor. That to me is a very good reason for there to be a meditation room in every school, and I truly do hope that we have that happen. I think that would be a very beneficial thing. The other thing that I think is wonderful about it is if these children are learning to do this now as school-age children, and hopefully the school system will continue it through their adolescence, how much better able are they going to be to deal with these things as they become young adults and then adults who are, fully functioning in society. So another thing that they looked at was how meditation might contribute to the workplace. And they discovered that it was very, very beneficial because it helped with physical and mental health. And it also helped with decreasing conflicts at work through meditation. People were better able to function. They had more productivity. Their quality of work life was better, and they also had better workplace well-being. One of the startling findings that came out of this was that their organizational innovation ability increased due to improved talent competence. So by incorporating meditation and mindfulness into their work life, they were able to help improve not only their ability to function in work, but their ability to increase their talent and support the aims of the business even better. So that has kind of startling implications. I also find it interesting because there are a number of studies that show productivity gains in the workplace are harder and harder to come by. We have at this point pushed so hard that it's very difficult to get to higher productivity levels through current means. There is a possibility that this adding meditation, adding mindfulness, adding the ability to calm down, slow down, and redirect could improve that in the workplace, which I think potentially is a good thing for everybody. One of the other things that I found when I was looking through this topic and researching for my book was the idea that how fast can you change your brain? How fast is your body able to respond to what you're doing? And one of the things that they discovered, there was a study that was done at Massachusetts General Hospital in 2011, and the answer apparently is 8 weeks. One of the startling things was it was not 8 weeks of endless meditation. It was not hours sitting in some sort of, meditative pose. It was 27 minutes a day, every day, 27 minutes a day. That's not a very long period of time. And they discovered that not only did they have significant improvements over where they started, they found that there were significant changes to the brain and to brain health because they did MRI studies prior to the study and then after the 8-week study was over. And the gray matter in the hippocampus, which is the center of our brain that we use for learning and for memory, increased. And there was also an increase in the parts of the brain that are tied to our ability to be self-aware, our ability to have increased compassion, and to be introspective. That is all very wonderful. Even more wonderful to me is the fact that there were reductions in stress because there was decreased gray matter in the amygdala, which is the part of our brain which is tied to anxiety and stress. When we look at this, we realize that the ability to decrease gray matter in the amygdala has overall meaning for our ability to process stress, to be able to deal with stressful situations. And I'll be the first one to tell you that stress is not necessarily a bad thing. there are times when stress is very helpful or very supportive for us for a number of different reasons. But, oh, apparently I'm not on the screen anymore. Can someone verify that?
Yeah, I was going to tell you, Mira, your thing went gray, but I didn't want to interrupt you. So I don't know if you want to exit out of your webcam, then reopen it.
Okay, let's try that. Not sure what happened. Hold on. How do I exit? There we go.
Well, it's just on the presenter screen part. You don't have to exit out of your presentation.
Okay.
So you know where you have your the webinar box.
Yep, I'm looking at that, and webcam. Okay, so can you add sharing back? Share my webcam. There we go. Webcam, share my webcam.
Still gray.
Still gray.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
No. Mine's working fine. I have a feeling it's something on your end, maybe.
Okay.
We can still see your presentation, which is the most important thing.
You can see the presentation?
Yeah, just go back to full screen for your presentation. Sorry, everyone.
Okay. So share. Okay. Nope. So can you see it again? Can you see the presentation?
Yeah. So just keep on rolling. You can exit out of your screen. Sometimes that happens with the webcam, so that's okay. Just go ahead and exit out.
Okay, so we should be on the mindfulness meditation 8-week?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that you can see it. So one of the things that I wanted to mention, though, is that when we, it says webcam closed by organizer. Can you still see it?
I closed it because you were gray. I closed you out.
Oh, okay. All right, but you can still see my screen. That's all I really care about.
I'll see your screen.
Okay, that's all I really care about. So one of the things that is important about that is that stress is not a bad thing. We need stress in our life. Let's be really honest. If a mastodon is chasing you down, you got to be able to run away. There are times when stress allows us to react quicker, function better, have an enhanced or increased response. The challenge is in our modern society, we have an inordinate amount of stress because we are surrounded by things that our body perceives as stressful. You're driving to work, there's a traffic jam, you're running late, you start screaming at the guy in front of you, even though he can't hear you and he's not moving either, and it doesn't really change anything, but then we activate that stress response, that fight or flight where our adrenaline goes up, or somebody cuts you off, or something else happens. All of these things are stressful moments. And part of the challenge is that as we move throughout the day, we can take all of these little moments. If we keep building on them, by the end of the day, we come home and we're a wreck because our stress level is so high that we're exhausted. If we can find ways to ratchet down throughout the day and to just breathe or doodle or do something else that helps you relieve stress, then we can calm that response and reset our ability to be present and aware if there is a stressful situation that requires a response from us. So that's definitely one thing. But if we can shrink that amygdala area, the gray matter in the amygdala, then there is a potential that helps also support reduction in overall stress and anxiety, and that we can potentially move forward in a calmer fashion. So in the study, I wanted to share these two quotes by one person was an author of the paper, or one of the authors of the paper. The other is a neuroscientist who specifically studies mindfulness training on individuals in high stress situations. She was actually not one of the study's investigators, but she found it very interesting. So the first person, Britta Holtzel, said, "It is fascinating to see the brain's plasticity and that by practicing meditation, we can play an active role in changing the brain and can increase our well-being and quality of life. That is really amazing. We can, at any age, change our brain. We have more plasticity than we think we do. We used to think that once we hit a certain age, it was done, and the answer is that's not true. This other is by Dr. Amishi Jha, who said these results shed light on the mechanisms of actions of mindfulness-based training. First person experience of stress cannot only be reduced within an 8-week mindfulness training program, but that this experiential change corresponds with a structural change in the amygdala. So that's really, really very powerful stuff. And we have the ability in our own day-to-day lives to be able to make these changes and support our own well-being and our own state of being. So in the 8-week study, the 3 things that came out, the areas of the brain that focused on being compassionate towards others increased. And that's very interesting because when we're stressed, sometimes we don't really care so much about the other person because we're so stressed, all we think about is ourselves. And we're frustrated or overwhelmed or whatever. When we learn to be calmer and perhaps have compassion for others, it's very easy, once you have perhaps a more compassionate state of mind, to look at the person who just cut you off in traffic and go, maybe they're really late because they're on their way to the hospital, or maybe something happened and they're very upset. My response is, if you need to go that quickly, you go right ahead. I didn't used to be that way. It used to be a lot of really bad words coming out of my mouth. And now it's like, all right, that's fine. Like, you can go first. The areas of the brain that deal with self-awareness got larger. I think that certainly just is a beneficial thing for all of us to encourage our own path to personal development and self-growth. And then the brain areas devoted to stress decreased. So all really, really great things. This is something I hear a lot, but I can't meditate. I don't know how. And I'm going to be the very first person to tell you I used to feel that way. That is why in my bio, I deliberately say a former meditation dropout. I tried so many different kinds of meditation, and I had friends who were all way better at it than I was. Say, oh, you just got to practice. Oh, it feels so good. You just do more. And I would wind up feeling frustrated and tangled in knots and overwhelmed and not happy at all. And I didn't understand what they were talking about. And so to me, it was a complete waste of time. And I eventually learned that there are answers to that, but we're going to get to that. We're going to cover that in just a moment. So part of the reason people think they can't meditate is because they expect that they have to have this peaceful, serene, ideal setting, and you're sitting there in lotus pose and you're kind of going, Om, and you have no thought whatsoever. And it's just this, myth that we've created. Now, being able to sit quietly at the beach and enjoy that can be a meditative moment. So I'm definitely not knocking that. For those people who can sit in lotus pose for an extended period of time, that's great too. The emptying your mind of all thought, I'm not so sure that happens, but that's okay. But we set ourselves up by creating this ideal that this is how it has to be. And that means we forget that there are lots of other ways that can be incorporated into this as well. The other thing that happens is sometimes we feel like we have to be like this guy. And right now, everyone's looking at this picture going, okay, that's really weird. He's got all kinds of things on his head. Why are you showing me this picture? Well, I show you this picture because this man is Matthew Ricard. And according to brain science, he is the happiest man in the world. As of 2015, he had documented 10,000 hours of meditation. He is a Buddhist monk, and his brain scans apparently revealed him to be the happiest man on the planet. And that's great, and I'm certainly very delighted for him. I think the challenge, once again, though, is that we set ourselves up by thinking we have to have this perfect meditative ideal, and if we can't do it, then why bother? One of the other things that drives me crazy is, a lot of people get caught up in this Buddhist saying, which for a lot of people has a lot of meaning, and I get that. I truly do. As a matter of fact, my dear friend and colleague and co-author of the book Beyond Meditation, Carrie McClure, is an excellent traditional meditator. She's so good at it. For her, this has a lot of resonance and a lot of meaning. Sit in nature for 20 minutes a day. If you're too busy, sit for an hour. And basically what this is saying is we must take that time. And if you think you're too busy, then you need to take more time. Part of the challenge is if you're someone who has a lot on your plate and there's a lot of different things going on, instead of being able to sit quietly for 20 minutes a day or for an hour, you find yourself thinking, I have too many things to do. I'm too busy. We come back to that busyness because we're not taking that time for ourselves and we don't realize the benefits of creating those mindful, quiet spaces in our life. And we have to start somewhere. So I suggest starting here. Not that I'm going to ask you to meditate on a toothbrush, but I'm using this as an analogy for you. We should brush our teeth 2 minutes at a time. And prior to yesterday, I said twice a day until my lovely assistant pointed out that the Dental Association of America says 3 times a day. But 2 minutes at a time, 2 to 3 times a day, we brush our teeth. And why do we do that? We do that because we want to keep our teeth. Because we know that if we brush them, we will keep them clean and it's an important part of self-care. So I'm here to suggest that you also need to consider 2 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day to do some sort of meditative practice. If you just start there, you will find an amazing amount of benefit. And there are lots of different ways that you can do that. We're going to talk about some of those in a minute. But here's the thing, we all have to start somewhere. And it is unrealistic to expect, if you're someone who has never meditated before or who finds traditional meditation very overwhelming and somewhat challenging to achieve, that you're all of a sudden going to be able to sit in blissful silence for an hour. And so we need to start small and then find ways to work up and to increase that in our lives. It is my sincere belief that once you start incorporating this into your life, you do indeed add more of it because you discover it feels so good when you're done. Remember that breathing exercise that we did? That felt great. And that was only 30 seconds. So if we can increase that, how much better would we feel? Or if that's not something that appeals to you, there are other methods and other strategies. But start with that 2 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day. So there's 8 mindfulness practices that I would like to suggest for you to help you get started. And they're in the book. I list dozens of different ways. These are just a few that seem to resonate with quite a number of people. If there's something else that you do and you think, wow, I could modify that a little bit and make it more meditative, go for that. There is no one size fits all meditation practice. And I really point that out because in the functional nutrition world, we talk about the fact that we are all bio-individual. There is no one-size-fits-all diet for everybody. Yet somehow we have been left with this impression that there must be a one-size-fits-all rule for meditation, and that's simply not true. So here are 8 practices. One is to focus on your breath. And you can do what we did, where you sit there mindfully with your hand under your belly button, breathing in a slow, measured fashion so that you're moving your hand and making sure that you're getting those deep belly breaths. Or you can simply sit, stand, or lie and just focus on the fact that you are breathing. It doesn't have to be a controlled breath. It doesn't have to be a certain amount of time, but to just focus on your breath. It's important to note that when we're doing these meditative practices, as you focus on your breath, as you do any of these other meditative things, you may have thoughts that crop into your mind. Oh, wait, did I do the laundry? Oh, what's after this? That's normal. That is very human. That is what Buddhists tend to refer to as our monkey mind cropping up. The object is to simply acknowledge that and go, yep, deal with that later, and go back to what you were doing. And the more you practice the ability to be in that meditative and mindful state, the longer the pauses between that monkey mind chatter can get. Now, having said that, full disclosure, I will tell you that when I am going through situations or times that are perhaps overwhelming, dealing with a family member in the hospital or busy deadlines or whatever, and my mind is definitely a little more engaged, my monkey mind chatter time increases. But I also have learned how to let that go, how to acknowledge that. And so that's something that I think is very important for people to learn, because I believe one of the biggest reasons people think they cannot meditate is because they think they have to have a perfectly still mind. Another great practice is to list your gratitudes. And there are so many different reasons to be grateful all around us all the time. But we're so busy, there's that word again, that we forget to acknowledge them or to note them. I suggest for people that you consider the idea of writing down 3 gratitudes in the morning. Just when you wake up in the morning, what are 3 things that you're grateful for? And then make a few minutes at the end of the day to write down 3 things that you're grateful for that happened during your day. That is somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes to write down those 6 gratitudes. And if you've got more than that, that's great. You can go for that. Your list doesn't have to be 3. It can be as many as you want. If you want to sit down and write out 100 gratitudes, that's awesome too. And for those people who think, I don't know where to start, I generally like to give you 3 morning gratitudes to start with. One is you woke up. That's always something to be grateful for. 2, no matter what is going on in your life, no matter where you are, what your situation is, somebody loves you. And the third one is that there is something in your environment that you see when you wake up, whatever it is, that you like. It could be your covers, it could be a book that you're reading, it could be the view out your window, whatever it is, there's something that you like looking at. So those 3 things are a great start. And then just build from there. Journaling can be a great meditative practice for a lot of people, just to be able to sit down and do stream of consciousness journaling. It doesn't have to make sense, but you're just letting it out and letting it go, and you find that it's like a steam valve on a pressure cooker. You're releasing steam by putting all of this down. I believe we don't take enough time to do this because we think, oh, I'm so busy, I'll get to that later. But really, if we take the time to do it, even if we have to set a timer and you say, I'm just going to sit down and write for 5 minutes, whatever's on my brain, doesn't have to make sense, doesn't have to mean anything, just write. You will discover that you feel much calmer and much more balanced afterwards. Listening to guided meditations. This is actually a favorite strategy for a lot of people who have a difficult time with either quiet or self-guided structure, because with a guided meditation, you find a recording, a voice, an interlude that you enjoy, and you're listening to someone else who's helping you to breathe, to relax, to follow a certain chain of thought. And there are lots of different guided meditations out there. I have a number of things listed at the end of the talk, a number of resources for you, so we'll certainly cover that. Focus on a spiritual practice. So for some people, a spiritual practice could be prayer. It could also be if there are certain meditative practices that are part of your faith tradition, or if you have a particular spiritual belief that encourages you to, do things such as spending time in nature, or, just different things like that. So I do encourage people to include that as well. Doodling. So for those who've been following me or listening to me or know of me, you'll know that doodling is one of my absolute favorite ways to meditate. I just love a pen and a piece of paper, and I sit there and I doodle, and some of them are pretty and some of them are weird, but it really is just me and that blank space and doodle and flow, and I love it. So that for me is one of the most fun things to do. Another form of meditation is another form of mindfulness is to simply be present, to just sit for a moment. And you can do this, not while you're driving, obviously, but you can do this wherever you are and simply focus on the sounds around you. Are you in an office? Is there noise from the office? Is there an air conditioning system? Is there an electric hum? Is a phone ringing down the hallway? Are you outside? Do you hear birds or crickets or the wind? Are you in your home? Is there noise in the background, a dog walking around, or perhaps just other sounds from the mechanicals of the home, the refrigerator humming, whatever it is. But fascinatingly enough, when we stop and simply listen to what's around us, because we're focused so intently on that one sense, it somehow allows us to release and relieve some of the other stress and overwhelm that we've got. And we find that we feel calmer and a little more rested when we come out of that. And then the last one that I want to share with you, although as I mentioned, there are dozens of ways, there's certainly a lot more that we can incorporate. It's a matter of finding what works for you. Another one is to find a mantra that you resonate with, something, some chain of words, whether it's part of a prayer, a poem, whether it's an actual, mantra from some faith tradition. To be able to repeat that over and over and over. Or perhaps if you're not comfortable saying it out loud, that could be something you could actually journal that. You could write your mantra down over and over again. And that is something that allows you to be calm and focused. There are a couple of practical tips. It's really important if you can. I believe we should drop into mindfulness whenever we can, especially if we have that self-awareness and notice that we're getting stressed. But in the beginning, when we're first learning how to do it, that can be really difficult. So to pick a time or times of day that provide quiet space for you. For me, obviously, one of my first ones is in the morning. I like to get up, make myself a cup of tea, and then sit down and practice a meditative practice. And then I have an afternoon practice as well where I sit specifically and spend time in meditation. But for the rest of it, it's just whenever I have the time. It's like, oh, I need a few minutes. One of my favorites, and I don't have a slide of it because if I did, I actually would have shared it. When I go to my acupuncturist, she loves it. I bring my meditation with me on my phone because I'm going to talk about one of the apps that you can get. And she loves it because I turn it on. She puts all of her little needles in me. I turn it on, and then I just sit there for 20 minutes. And I get in a good meditation while I'm practicing self-care as well. So that's awesome. Turning off electronic distractions. It's really hard to meditate with the TV on in the background, with a radio, with your computer screen open, with your iPhone next to you. I put mine in do not disturb mode so that I'm able to focus, but we really want to get rid of that electronic leash for just a few minutes so that we can focus on us. It's really important to make sure that you're not going to be distracted. If other people are in your space, if you can go to another room or say to them, I need this time and space for me, I'm going to be meditating, and ask them to help you with that. Make sure you're comfortable. Like if you need to put on a comfy pair of pants, or are you sitting comfortably? There's nothing worse than trying to sit there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and there's a little crick in your neck, or you're sitting awkwardly. Make sure that you're seated and adjust yourself and be comfortable before you begin. And then to make sure that you have some kind of a gentle sounding timer. Mine has a little ding, and it repeats 3 times. So it lets me know that my session is done. Because sometimes when you start, you get so into it that once the timer goes off, you're like, what? Was that 10 minutes already? Really? So we want to make sure it's a gentle sound, because to have a loud gong or a loud noise or whatever is very jarring and very distracting. So in summary, adding a mindfulness practice to your life can decrease stress, anxiety, and depression. It can improve self-awareness. It increases compassion. It improves your sleep, and it also has a positive impact on your body systems. So meditation, mindfulness, yes, you absolutely can. And all you have to remember to do is just breathe. So there's a couple of resources that I want to share with you that deal with stress and helping us be less stressed so that we have more ability to be able to focus on incorporating that mindfulness practice into our life so that we can receive all of those benefits. One is Calmzyme, which is an absolutely wonderful supplement, and it has things in it that are specifically designed to support stress management and to help fortify the nervous system. So this is a really, really great supplement to add to your daily routine if you're someone who has a lot of stress and a lot of overwhelm. It's also something that is really wonderful for clients if they need help shifting as well. And then the other one is the Rezen formula. And part of the reason I love Rezen is because of its fabulous support for the adrenal system. Because a lot of times when we get stressed and overwhelmed, our adrenals are the ones that pay the price. And our poor little adrenals are being taxed to the max and wind up, causing us to then have perhaps more fatigue and more reduced body response because we have just overwhelmed them by creating this highly stressful, highly overwhelming situation. And then in addition to the adrenal support, it also helps to improve mood and support healthy nervous system and support our brain health. So all good things. So this is a list of the mindfulness resources. And I am going to be sending all of you a handout that has the links for all of these, because obviously I can't put live links in a webinar, but I'm going to send you all of these so that you can get them. There are a number of books that are my favorites, and I really love the 5-minute journal. This is one of the things that I use. I still use mine, and it's a really great way to start and end your day. There are a number of audio and video resources. There's also a number of apps. My favorite app that I use a lot, the one that I use when I'm at my acupuncturist, for example, is Insight Timer. And it's free. It has massive numbers of different meditations or soundtracks or other things, and you can pick the ones that you want. You can pick how long you want to listen for, and so it gives you resources like that, and then you can also choose your favorite ones. I also really like the Calm app and suggest that quite a bit. And then the others are also great resources. Part of the reason that I list several apps is I have found in my experience that just because I like Insight Timer doesn't mean everybody else likes it. And so it's a matter of finding the things that work for you. Same thing with the 5-minute journal. I happen to like pen and paper for that one, but there are some people who prefer to do it on an app. So that gives you an opportunity to be able to do that. And then we also have a few training resources listed for you. Calm for Schools is the Calm app. So that's an app that you can get for free, and there are a few things open. If you want more than that, they have resources that you can pay for. If, however, you are an educator at a K through 12 school, you can actually apply to get a copy of the Calm app for free, because their goal is for you to be able to share these things with your students, which I think is absolutely wonderful. And then Matthew Ricard, you can definitely, he has a bunch of different training videos and things that you can do, which is wonderful. You can actually take the mindfulness-based stress reduction training. You can take that 8-week program. So I have a link for you on that, and then a link to be able to just learn more about the school that replaced detention with meditation. And so, again, I just wanted to mention these two books. I think these are great books and that they are very helpful because they give you structure and guidance. Beyond Meditation is half book, half workbook. The first half of the book has inspiration pages and essays and information. The second half of the book has worksheets and exercises. And it was deliberately written on 8.5 by 11 so that once you own the book, you can photocopy the pages to be able to use them over and over and over again. In the book, in addition to some of the meditative practices that I share about, my co-author and I were able to get a bunch of our colleagues to share their meditative practices. And so there are dozens of different ways to meditate in this book. And I'm pretty sure that everybody can find at least one thing that they can resonate with. And then the gratitude journal, I love having a gratitude journal, and it's wonderful because the way we designed it, we have one page is blank and the other page is lined. So we have some for writing and some for doodling, drawing, stickering, coloring, whatever you want to do. And then this is about me. So, I would love to encourage you to connect with me and, see how I can possibly help you and help support you. So I did want to leave a few minutes for questions and answers because I know that this is a topic that a lot of people sometimes struggle with. So if there were any questions that I could answer for you, we have, I believe, about 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure. So real quick, just a few things. So thanks so much for sharing the mindfulness tips that you did, because I am one of those that is guilty of I can't meditate. My meditation is exercise. So when I truly I count it as that because I like zone out. I don't look at anyone. It's just like I'm in a zone. So to me that kind of counts. Yoga.
I'm back. Look
Yay!
at it. I tried again and it came back.
Yeah, but no, I really, and it's so funny you said that because me and my husband were talking about that on our way to work this morning because I was really stressed about a lot of things going on personally and everything, and he was saying the exact thing, think about, that's what he has to do every morning is he thinks about what he's grateful for, because at the end of the day, being upset about it's not going to make it any different. He's still got to go, all these different things. So I really, really liked the whole listing your gratitudes. That's definitely something I think I'm going to start doing. And then the doodling, I know when I was planning my wedding, like those adult coloring books were huge for me because I was trying to watch my weight, so I couldn't drink wine, which normally I would do to relax me, and I couldn't stress eat, so I would doodle in those coloring books, and they were a huge help. So thank you for sharing that. That was a great tip for someone who is the typical I can't sit there and I feel like because I can't clear my mind, I can't meditate, so I don't ever try. But those are, you don't think about those being avenues for mindfulness and meditation. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and the coloring, so I believe doodling and coloring are two variants of the same thing. Didn't you feel so much calmer after that? Like there's something very therapeutic about picking colors and just like whether you color in the lines, out of the lines, who cares? Like your sky can be purple or yellow or who cares? Like it's just about doing
it's very therapeutic. I need to get them back out and start doing it again.
Yeah.
It really did. It did help me. I'm just one of those, my mind's always going. And so at least when I'm doing that, I still feel like I'm doing something, but it's more of a calming thing. So that's really cool. One of the questions that we had was what guided meditations do you recommend, which I think you kind of covered that.
Yeah, and so I can tell you if I pull up my app real quick, because I do have one that I absolutely love and I listen to it a lot. So it's on Insight Timer.
Okay, I was about to say, is it on Insight Timer?
Yep. And so there's one that I like. It's called Connect with Spirit Guides Meditation. It's 49 minutes.
Okay.
It's very long, but I love it. So that's the one that a lot of times if I have a long stretch of time, I like that one. And then there's another one that I like, and this is also on Insight Timer. Hang on, let me go back here. And so I have a 10-minute one that I like a lot. Hang on, where is it? Morning meditation with music. It's 10 minutes with Jonathan Lehman. So that one's really good too.
Yeah, I used to listen to him before bed. Is it still beneficial to do it if it's right before sleep?
Yep, I love those. As a matter of fact, there are a number of guided meditations that are specifically geared for helping you unwind and de-stress so that you can go to sleep.
Awesome. Okay, great. And thank you for mentioning the Reason and Calmzyme. Calmzyme was our original anti-stress formula, and then we came, with the help of Dr. Greenberg, we came out with the amazing product Reason. I don't know how many people on the webinar are actually using that product, but we, just a little tip, the best time that we found clinically to recommend that for patients has been around 10 a.m. So I don't know if you've done that or not. I have a lot of people that if they take it at bedtime, it makes them a little too wired. But I've taken it at bedtime and I'm fine, so it just depends. But those are two really great formulas, and we do have the Reason on special. Another one that I want to mention for those of you that are listening today, if you don't have an account or you're not familiar with it, another product that a lot of people forget about when it comes to the nervous system is our Calmzyme. The Calmzyme is a great antioxidant product, and it's great at improving your mental clarity and physical energy. So that's always a good one. I take 2 of those every morning before I work out. But it's a great just mind clearer. But yeah, the Calmzyme and Reason. Do you use those pretty regularly with patients that are having anxiety?
I was using the Calmzyme a lot before, and then once Reason came out, I found out for some people, like especially those who have a lot of fatigue or whatever, if it's tied to their adrenals, the Reason was a great choice for them.
Yeah. And the Calmzyme, another thing too, I don't know if you've used it with kids. I know like Dr. Krupstat uses Calmzyme with her pediatric population. So if you're wondering if you can use these in children, Calmzyme definitely. Reason, again, that one's probably going to be more beneficial for the older child, maybe 8 and older. I know you've had a lot of practitioners have great success with it with like ADD. And we all know that's just getting diagnosed left and right. So it's a great alternative to those types of medications that are actually someone that's currently trying to correct their adrenals from chronic Adderall use.
Yeah.
You don't want your kids on that because you're going to lead to neurotransmitter problems down the road, thyroid issues and so forth. So a great natural alternative to those types of medications. And then I might have missed it. Did you mention your giveaway?
Yes. So I am going to send them the links to all of these resources. So we can definitely do that.
So everyone be on the lookout for the links from Mira. It should be from your email address, which is going to be, is it going to say Ingredient Guru or?
Yes, it will.
Yeah. And if you don't already do so, Mira has a wonderful Instagram page, as well as, do you want to share maybe your Facebook?
Sure. Yeah. So my Instagram is @theingredient-guru, and my Facebook page is, just go to Facebook and look for Mira Dessy NE for Nutrition Educator. And so we can connect there. I would certainly love to connect with you. And then the other thing that, the other thing that I'm going to do, I actually have a little white paper that I wrote called Stop Spinning Your Wheels. And so I'm going to send that as well. I'm making a note right here.
Awesome. Please share that with me as well so we can.
A little scientifically supported paper. Yep. On how to stop spinning your wheels.
Great. Well, awesome, Mira. Thank you so much. So before we sign off, I just want to remind everyone of our specials this month, because one of our specials is that Reason that Mira and I were just speaking about. We are so confident that our Reason will help balance feelings of anxiety and depression that we will include a free HRV when you purchase 4 or more cases of Reason, so you can see for yourself. That's over a $1,200 value. So the HRV, if you're not aware, it's our heart rate variability technology that we have here. We have several practitioners that are using it in their clinics to measure how effective their therapies are at reducing not only external but internal stress in their patients. You know, a lot of times we put patients on protocols and we have no idea how effective those really are. And we know now with genetic testing and other methods that some of these treatments we're recommending, again, it's not a one size fits all, and what's appropriate for some is inappropriate for all, and you could actually be creating more stress. So the HRV is a great way of really validating that the therapy you're using is actually working. So we are also highlighting lipo this month. Lipo is one of our support products that's actually really phenomenal at helping with blood pressure, cholesterol, lipid levels. It's also good at helping with appetite control. It's just a really good overall support product for those people, especially if you're dealing with someone that's having any issues with cholesterol, lipids, or weight in general. So the special is you buy one case of either Reason or Lipo, and you will get free ground shipping, and that your case discount of 10% off will also apply. And for those of you who are using our fulfillment program, we are also offering free shipping to your patients who order $150 or more, as well as if they purchase 5 or more bottles of products, they will get the 6th bottle free. So if you're using our fulfillment program, that's definitely something. If you have, you know, patients that are due for an order soon, if they order 5 bottles, they get the 6th free. I'm hoping the majority of you are using foundation as your staple. So that's 3 right there. You just got 2 more that you would need to get them. So maybe a bottle of Reason, maybe a bottle of Calmzyme, and then they could get a free bottle of whatever else they wanted. So that's just
Calmzyme.
Huh?
Free bottle of Calmzyme.
There you go. So, yep, Calmzyme. There you go. Perfect. Again, be sure to check your emails for our Clinicians Toolbox email that will be sent out this week. That's going to include lots of great handouts, research, case studies, all pertaining to the stress protocol we have. A link for this webinar will actually be sent out within the next day or 2, so be on the lookout for that as well. If you're new to transformation and would like to view our catalog, you can visit us at http catalog.transformationenzymecorp.com. And for phone orders, you can always contact our order desk at 1-800-777-1474 or shoot us an email at orders@tecenzymes.com. And if you have not already done so, please visit our website, www.cis-11.com, to sign up for next month's webinar with Dr. Polly Heal-Mealy, who will be focusing on women's health in honor of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. She's got some great stuff planned for us, so we're really excited to have her in October. So with that being said, we are in fact out of time. Mira, thank you again so much for your great presentation today.
Thanks for having me on.
And thank you everyone for spending your lunch hour with us. Hope to see you next month, okay? Bye everyone. Have a good Wednesday. Bye.